Hello friend, Amit is here. So up to that we understand that simple mapping where we can map with primitive type, wrapper classes, string, date, this kind of thing we will map, then it will be come under the simple mapping. And we already see that how we can map with collection, like that if we have a list set map array, then how we'll map it. So we will see in both core and annotation way how we'll deal with collection object. And now we already see that inheritance mapping, where three type of inheritance mapping is there. When multiple persistence class or inheritance relationship, then we are going to utilize a inheritance mapping, where I give the example of where we have a student, current student, beacon student kind of mapping is there. So we already see that table per subclass mapping, how core is working. And same example we just check that how will convert into the annotation way. So table per subclass we already created through the core with XML mapping, and we will move into the annotation mapping. So that part we'll check here. So just before to moving there, just I will quickly refresh about your what already we did here. So we add here join subcolumn. That join subcolumn will be have inside of that all subclasses. So we have regular, we have current student, we have a student. First we have a student. We'll just note down that. I will create one more diagram. So we have a student and we have current student, immediate subclass of that. Current some student have regular student and weekend student. And next is that old student, that is a subtype of a student. So 5 classes is there. We draw that diagram, inheritance diagram, and paint where we have a student is there, and a student have 2 classes. And where it have 2 more subclasses. Just write down that particular name of that classes. That is a student, and this one is a current student and old student. This one is old student. Current student. This one is a old student. This one is old student and regular student and weekend student. A regular student, and here weekend student. Weekend student. Okay, we can understand. So our inheritance type, inheritance relation, like a student have current student, old student, regular student, and weekend student. Student have immediate two subclasses, current student and old student, and current student have immediate two subclasses, regular student and weekend student. We try to inherit that. We already did in the core, where we use that join subclass. So here top class is a student, so we added here name is equal to a student and table is equal to my student. After that we add joint subclass. So after that we have immediate subclass is that current student, so we will add here current student. So current student have two subclass, regular student and weekend student. So in between that the same tag join subclass we will close here, but between of that two subclass will be add here as exactly how in diagram it is showing. And again we will start with joint subclass and name, and we will map it exactly same, and here lab will just create it and run. So we already did that, and we see that how we are doing. So it's the same thing, just remember it what we did here. So we just use join sub column, weekend student and all kind of thing, and we will run it. So here till now we understand that simple mapping, collection mapping, inheritance mapping. Now we are here table per subclass mapping, and table per subclass mapping we already understand about that how we'll map in the core. Now we just try to understand how we'll map in annotation part. So the same I created here, no changes is here, just that HVM file is not there. So we will start with Hibernate cfg.xml and we'll check that how much changes is there. Just close it. So all other thing it will be mapping file is not there, so only configuration file is there. So configuration file start with Hibernate configuration, after that session factory, because that information related to particular database. And I already say that session factory is a that have a information related to particular one database. So whenever we have to add multiple database, we have to add multiple session factory. So now session factory we have here, and after that session factory driver class is there, URL there, user ID, password as it is that we utilize in previous projects. So dialect is here, that will be point out that we are going to utilize a MySQL. After that so SQL true is there, so how much auto created query is there, that we can see under the console. After that HBM to DDL auto is there, through that we can automatically create a table. We no need to explicitly specify the table generation query, and we no need to write that. The main thing is that before of that we are mapping through the resource. Now we are mapping through classes. So we have the 5 classes as it is here: a student, current student, old student, regular student and weekend student. The same thing we specify here: a student, current student, old student, regular student, weekend student. It will point out that exactly a specified path. So we have com.visualpath.hibernate, and inside that we have 5 classes. So that classes will be point out here. So map, only one thing is there, that mapping. Other exactly same in what previous classes we utilize. Even you can utilize the same Hibernate cfg.xml already. If you write down somewhere and some project already created, you utilize the same class, same XML file, just change that mapping, these 5 classes just register here. So we'll see that one by one how the 5 classes we have to change, because of that before of that we are using here this mapping file, and mapping file have the all information related to map, but we not using any annotation, any mapping file. So we have write down all the information in the annotation way in the particular class itself. So the top class is the student, so a student have many subclasses. So now you will start here. So before of that entity, we know that this class is going to persistence operation, that entity class, through that we will mark as an entity. After that table, what table you want to create here. So I just want to create a student table. So just type a student, and I won't type one, just a means annotation. So a student A table I want to create, name is student A, and after that just check that here. So this one new tag will become, through that only we will specify, point out that runtime system that we are going to utilize a table per subclass mapping concept. So that concept utilization is @inheritance. So at the inheritance tag, you just provide a strategy and inheritance type is equal to join. As I explained about that, we have a 3 different kind of inheritance mapping: table per class, per subclass mapping, table per class mapping, table per concurrent class mapping. So the same thing here, it will be an inheritance strategy, inheritance type is equal to same. After that only it will be a joint or some different thing that will be a specify that what kind of inheritance we are going to utilize. Like the joint is there, we'll see that other part also. So join is there, single table is there, table per classes is there. As I told that 3 kind of inheritance relation is there, but right now we are going to utilize a joint. So joint means the table per subclass mapping is there. When we are going to utilize a table per subclass mapping means exactly that much table will be created, that much class is there. So now we have how much classes? So we have 5 classes: a student class, that immediate concurrent class is current student and old student, that current student have 2 subclass, that regular student and weekend student. So that exactly 5 classes is there. So here that 5 table will be created and particular information will be stored there, and all table map with the particular primary key. So all table have one extra primary key column, through that all the table will be mapped. So here we see that nothing is changed, only one line is changed: inheritance strategy, inheritance type equal to join. That thing is here. So we'll see that the next table, how means what is there. So next table is there, current student or old student. So we'll see that old student first. So in old student we see that there no inheritance related information, only a student have this inheritance strategy, inheritance type equal to join. But any other subclasses like old student, that tag is, that annotation is not there. What the new annotation is there, @primary key join column. So it will be create a new table, but what table means that table information where you want to means through that which column you want to map. So mapping it happening by the SID, that only one thing you have to provide: primary key join column. When you going to join a table with a different table with the which column field you want to join. We want to join through the SID because SID is a primary key. So we add that @primary key join column, @primary key join column, @primary key join column, name equal to SID. And the same thing we have to add in all different table, like a old student, the same current student we will add @primary key join column, name equal to SID. And other current student have a 2 immediate subclasses like a regular student, again same primary column, name equal to SID, and weekend student, again same primary key, name equal to SID. So what the changes we find out here? The immediate means super class, where like that this student, that super class we have to provide what kind of inheritance strategy we going to utilize. So we are going to utilize a joint, inheritance type equal to join. Join means this will be a table per subclass mapping. Join means it is a table per subclass mapping. Joined means it is a table per subclass mapping. So only one thing we have to know here, when we are going to utilize inheritance strategy equal to inheritance type dot join, means it will be point out we are going to utilize a table per subclass, means how much classes is there, that much table will be created. Now we are in our situation, we are utilizing a 5 classes. So here 5 table will be created and all information will be stored in that 5 table. So different strategy type is there, 3 strategy type is there. Now we are going to utilize a joint strategy type. That joint strategy type is point out that it is a table per subclass mapping. After that we no need to change anything. Hey, same thing we have to add id generated value, that generation type equal to r2 that is related to primary key. At the rate it means this next column what we will write that is going to generate automatically with primary key. And after that all column name we have to specify, and this the same thing we explained many times, so nothing is changed. Only change is there, that inheritance type, that is a top class. After that subclass not have inheritance strategy type, the subclass have join column related information. The subclass means old class that have primary key join column. So only two changes is there. The superclass, exactly the superclass like a student, you have to write the inheritance type. After that all the classes you have to provide which key, through that primary key you want to join all the column. So that annotation is @ primary key join column, and particular name equal to sid you want to join that column table. Other than exactly same, no need to change anything. Changes is here, you just have to map with the particular classes. All 5 classes you have to register. After that immediate superclass, that student, here you have to provide @ inheritance strategy equal to inheritance type dot join. After that all the subclasses like old student you have to provide @ primary key name equal to sid. This annotation you have to utilize. The same annotation will be utilized in all the classes. And lab, that is exactly same what the lab be utilized in the core. So nothing is changed here. Yep. So no changes is here, exactly same classes is there. Yes, so the same what the this main classes we utilize in the core, exactly same classes is there. So we created a session factory through already I discussed with singleton and factory pattern. Through that we will get the session factory, and after that we just open the session, and after that we will start the transaction. After that we will just create the particular object, like a student means a current student means a student, and after that once a student is created we just session.save. Same thing we will start with session.save with current student. Here old student will do session.save with regular student, session.save with weekend student. So all after the save we will start will commit it. So once we will save means it is not affecting the database. Before commit it will not hit the database, even the database connectivity means our data is not exactly stored in the database. After the commit only the database means our data is stored inside the database. So here what we are doing, when we are doing all the save, when we are doing a tx.commit, that only one time it will be push all the information, saved information pushed in the session cache, and after that committing only the all information will go to the database. Within one time it will be push all the information in the particular database. In between of that, if something is happen, if transaction, it will be throw exception and transaction is not null, then it will be roll back. So we just check that what the database we are using. So here we are using a visual path 1, but visual path 1 already have some tables created by the core, so it will be mismatch. So we'll create some visual path 3 and we will store there. So how we will move now, visual path is not there. So we'll again check that how means what the exception we are getting. If database is not there, and we will run it. Yeah, we got some exception, that is cannot connect. So clear message is there, message from server unknown database visual path 3, because visual path 3 is not there. We'll check that MySQL. Just a minute. So database. Spelling mistake is there. So database. So visual path 3 is not there. So we'll create database visual path 3. And we will use that database. Now we'll check that any table is there. So now it is a newly created, so no table is there. So we'll just write down that visual path 3 here. So just check that exactly visual path 3 is there or something, visual path 3. So now we will run that program. Now it is fine. They find out that visual path 3 database name inside the MySQL, and it is. So now we see that 4 table is created. Just increase the font through that you can understand a little bit. No font size, just increase 40. Okay, so we have a 4 student here, so we'll just go one by one. Student A we created because student select star from A, student A. So here SID, CT, SName and status and total fee, what the information we stored related to a student. So student related information, student class. So a student have this 4 field, SName, CT, status and total fee, that will be SID, CT, SName, status and total fee. Other than that, current student means C student, C student 2. So that have branch, fee balance and timing, that information is here. And after that, current student, that weekend student, W student, that have C email, company and CTC, and regular student, regular student have percentage, qualification and year of passing, and old student have C email, company and CTC. So this all information will store here, what the information we try to store here. So here just we have to understand that how we means how this operation is working. So here then super class immediate super, first you have to start here, you have to map this classes like a mapping classes. All the classes will be mapped with complete classified qualified path of that entity classes. So because this is a super classes, so here in this all the super classes we have to add inheritance strategy equal to join. Join will be point out that we are going to utilize a table per subclass mapping. Through that it will be understand that every class have to create a separate table. So here what the table name be provided, that table name will be created. Other thing is exactly same. All other subclasses we have to provide primary key join column and name, just provide that particular primary key. So at the rate primary key join column we have to provide. Other thing is exactly same. We see that old student, even the current student, weekend student, all have same at the rate primary key join column, but main that super type that have a inheritance a strategy inheritance type dot join, that only one change is there. Other than it's exactly same and regular student all. So inheritance type, when we are using a table per subclass mapping where exactly that much table will be created, that much subclasses is there. So we have 5 classes: student, current student, old student, regular student, weekend student, and that much table it's created here. Let's just check once again. So table, so current student, old student, regular student, student, and weekend student, that much table, 5 table is created, and all information is stored here. One thing we have to understand, when if we want, we can store all the information in the single table only, then what the problem we will get? So here just think about that. Some weekend student that they are working somewhere and they have company name, CTC, current CTC, company email ID, like kind of thing. That information we want to store into the weekend student information. But regular student, they are a real student, they are not working anywhere, so they don't have a CTC and company name and company email ID. So that field will, if we store in the single table, then that field will become a null. That information means we don't have any information related to this, that particular cell we don't provide any information, then it's automatically is null. So that much memory space is going to be best. So according of that, we have to think what kind of inheritance we will utilize, how much means changes is there in different subclasses. According of that we will find out. So next, till now we understand that simple mapping that have all wrapper class, string, date, primitive type, all thing, collection mapping where we already see that list, set, array, and all different kind of collection mapping. Inheritance mapping, we see that table per subclass mapping, with core, that is a 3.1, and with annotation, that is a 3.2. Now next we will see that how table per class mapping is working. Here table per class mapping is the same inheritance mapping, same situation we going to utilize. Means this also have a student, current student, regular student, weekend student, and old student. But here strategy type equal to per class mapping, means all the table information, even we have the 5 different subclasses, all the information going to store in the single table. We'll see that how we can implement it. So now we just close that all, because we're going to create a new. Yeah, so this is there. So now we will start with the core. We just try to add table per class information through that 3.1 and mapping with XML mapping, and after that we will convert into the annotation mapping and we will check that how it is working. So here we will start with this configuration. So configuration file we have to provide, it will be start with Hibernate configuration after the session factory. Session factory means it will point out the single database. So here all the information related to particular database. We have to register driver class, URL, username, password, that we know, and here that URL just we have to understand that here IP address, if IP locally running, then we have to provide a local IP address or local host, and this is a port number. During the installation of MySQL we have to provide that port number. That port number we have to utilize here, and here database we are going to utilize some database, and right now we are going to utilize a database 3 because database 2 means Visual Path 2 I already have some tables. Then we have to, means it will be a little bit difficult to understand that table is created or it's not created kind of thing will come. So we will add the Visual Path 3, we will create a new database and we will add all information there. Other than username is there, that will be a root, and password is there, that is admin. This is a dialect, means we are going to do the DB operation with MySQL. Here the show SQL means when we are running this command, we are seeing some query here like that, insert into a student A, insert into a student 2. So it will be so like that because we added here this show SQL true. If we not add, we not able to see this query. And here HBM2 DDL auto means we not created any table, that automatically create the table by Hibernate. So that's reason HBM2 DDL dot auto create is here. And resource, when we are using annotation, we have to provide here class, mapping class. But when we use a core, then we have to provide a resource with complete classified path of the particular mapping document. So we are going to utilize a mapping document that is available com.visualpath.hibernate package, and that name is student.hbm.xml. So we'll see that student.xml what is there. So you see that it will be it is a start with Hibernate mapping as usual. After that we have to provide a package name we provided, and after that the class is the student, that is a super class of the mapping, because this one is a student, that reason we added here the student. After that table name we want to a student as it is a student only, and discriminator value we want, just 1 minute, this one is yes. So here we have to add the discriminator, because before of that we see that means we have different classes information in the different table. Now we are going to create a single table for all the information, even if it is a student, regular student, weekend student, old student, it will be stored in the single table. So how we can understand that this information, like that Amit or some Sumit whose ID is 1, either he is a regular student or weekend student, how we can specify that, how we can understand that this is related to which table, which class, that information, that will be point out that discriminator value. So when the student will be there, that will create one column, that column name is something we have to provide, that column name. If STU is there, then we can understand that this is a related to a student. So here what the column created, discriminator column, so STU type, so or a student type. So we created a student type, means column created a student type. If this information related to a student class, then that will be a store STU under that particular class. So yes, so before of that we not utilize a discriminator when we using a table per subclass configuration, but here table per class configuration we have to provide this discriminator information, because here we are going to utilize the same table and we want to store all the table in the same all the information the same table. So because of that discriminator is come, and discriminator value we have to store that. So column name, how will specify, we have to specify discriminator, that column name is equal to a student type. After that all property that is a particular class have, we have to register here. So before of that we are using a joint subclass, now we are using a subclass, and exactly same, if that subclass have some its class have some subclass, then we have to register in between of that subclass. So this subclass current student have two subclasses, current student have regular student, weekend student. So this subclass will start here and end here, and between of that we have to register regular student and weekend student. So the same thing here, subclass student, old student not have any subclass, so it will be start here and end here. So done. So mapping is done. So the only new thing is come here, that is a discriminator value. That discriminator value will be available in all the subclasses all the subclasses have discriminator value, because through that only we will find out either this student is a weekend student, regular student, current student, or what type of a student is there. Through discriminator only we can verify. Other than that discriminator value, we have to register discriminator column. Means if we where we want to store this stu cstu value, so that will be come with this discriminator column name. So we want to store under the su2 type, like sid will be one column, like name is one column, like email is one column. Same kind of new column is created, that name is a student type, and there the information, if we going to store the student related, then it will be stu is there. If that student is related to current student, then cstu will store there. So that will be mapped with this one. So only two thing is new here, discriminator is new here, and this discriminator value equal to stu is new here. One thing is changed here. Before of that join subclass is there, now it is a subclass is there, and after that subclass we are not using a discriminator value. Now here we are using a discriminator value in each and every classes. Then mapping is done. We will see that this, yeah, here this is a same classes, a student is a means parent class of all the mapping classes, and immediate subclass of a student is a two class, current student and old student. So old student, this is a old student, so we will do that the same thing. We will instantiate it through the super other thing that is available in the student, and we will instantiate it initialize through that this that is available here in the old student. So other than old student, current student is there. Again we will do the same thing. This have a different field, and we will initialize through that super, that field is available in the student, and we will initialize through this that is available directly here. So again the regular student have two, weekend student and current student have regular student and weekend student. So regular student, again we will provide the field, new field that we want, and in the super we can provide current student as well as a student. The same thing here, weekend student, here the super will provide a current student as well as the student related information. After that we will initialize here, and yeah, that is it done. That is a C Hibernate util. We will utilize the same here, a static block. Inside the static block we will just create a session factory, and through that factory method we will return that. We are using a static block because we don't want to initialize that configuration related thing. In many time we want like a singleton type of concept, only when the class is a load, that time it will be instantiated, and that value will be is there up to the Hibernate runtime system is running. And whenever we want, through that static method we will return back. This static method is there, so we will directly call Hibernate util dot get session factory. So we are using a same thing, C Hibernate util dot get session factory. We are getting a session factory. After that we are creating a session through that open session method. After that session dot begin transaction, we will create a transaction. So transaction, after that we just create a student and a session dot save, current student session dot save, and old student again session dot save. So we did session dot save operation, but before without commit it will be not affect the database, our information not stored inside the database. So what happened when we will save, that means that information is pushed inside the session cache, and it will be there exactly there only, but now it is not affected the database. When we hit the transaction dot commit, that time only it will be take all the data and store into the database. What the benefit of there? Now we are doing all the save 5 times, but our data not move into the 5 times to the database. Connectivity is not there, only single connectivity. When we'll do the transaction commit, it will be stored inside the database, and after that we just close that session dot close, and in between that some exception or something will occur, then it will be under the catch, and here we will check that if transaction is not null, then we will do the tx dot rollback. So what the information or wrong information is stored inside the database, or half information is stored inside the database, that will be rolled back and no effect it will be come here. So we just try to run it and want to just check that it is means how it is working. So now we are using a database is visual path 3, but check that visual path 3 is there or not. So database, so yeah, visual path 3 is there. Use visual path 3 and so table. So it already have some tables. So because of that we will create one new database. Visual path 4. We will use that. Okay, we'll check that. Because it's new created, so nothing is there. That is a very fresh database. So where we have to change that database related information, we have to change here. We'll change. Now we check that in mapping what the table we going to create. So this is a student, that table name is a student, and here discriminator column name is equal to student type, and if it is related to STU, the student, then STU, current student means CSTU or STU, that kind of thing means that will be created. So just run and check that, then it's easy to understand that. We'll go through that table and we can understand the Java application. Yeah, it's successfully run. So inserted into the student. So only one table is there, all information insert into the student. So insert into the student, initially that have few field only, like here S name, CT, status, total field, student type and SID, but here you see that this second have many field, third have different field, fourth have different field, fifth have different field. Okay, so according of that it will be inserted. So we'll check that here how what happened, table is created or not. So we see that only one table is created. Same thing before of that what we did in same table per subclass, where the 5 table is created and all information, student related information will store under the student table. Current in student information will store in current student table, and regular student information will store in regular student table. But here what happened, only one table for all the student. So we'll see that how they are storing. Select a star from student. See, so single table, and what discriminator thing I am telling before of that I explain that. So discriminator, this is a discriminator column name equal to a student type, and each and every table have discriminator type. So this one is a STU, means this is a student. So Amit is a student, so he don't have other information like a timing, branches and all. Like this one is C student, means this is a current student, so it not have information related qualification and all. So it is a old student, so old student also not have timing, branches and all information. So this is a weekend student, so it have a information related to company email, CTC kind of thing. So what the information is not stored, that will be a store as a null, because that information is not stored. So that thing only I want to explain, that in this situation only you have to finalize that which type of inheritance you are going to utilize. Now see, in this our scenario, this table is not fit for our scenario, because lot of cell is store the null value and that much memory is going to waste. But just think about that, all students have the same field, like even the current student, regular student, weekend student or anything that have the same field, all have a year of a passing, percentage, qualification, branch, timing, fee balance, the same thing is there. Then that type of we can store in the single table per class mapping. But right now what we are using here, that kind of thing, it is not fit for this table per class mapping, because here we are going to create a single table and we will store all the information, and we don't have some information. That information will store as a null, and that value means that much memory is going to best when we are using a per class, that we have all the field is a fill, so no null value is there, so that much memory it is safe. So but the thing about the situation where all student have the same field, like all student have S name, CT, status, total fee, like that, current, weekend, then we have to utilize this concept. Now it is done. So what changes, will quickly refresh about that, what exactly changes is here. So here inside the mapping we no need to do anything, we just need to provide this student HBM.xml. student HBM.xml, we have to just change few things. We have changed that discriminator value. So discriminator value means that STU means this one, STU, that value will be stored. Through that only we can understand this is what type of table information, what type of entity class information is there. So STU means this is a student class information. So what you will provide here, that will become inside this column with the particular class information will come there. And after that you just have to provide a discriminator column name. So you have to create one new column where you this discriminator value information will store. So that column name is student type. So that column name is student type, that the column will be created. So this discriminator value must be available in all the subclasses. Before of that we are using a join subclass, now we are using a only subclass. So that is only one difference between a table per class and table per subclass. And after that same thing is there. If we have any concurrent subclass or an immediate subclass, then we have to register in between of that, then only we will close that subclasses. If, for example, if weekend student have two more student type, then we have to add here first information, like a weekend student have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday student, then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday student will be stored here. And after that means different student is there, then you have to student here. So I just want to try to explain that, means same table hierarchy we have to store here. So nothing is changed here, only two changes is here, discriminator value, discriminator column, and after that all discriminator. And it's exactly same. If you want, you can utilize that your old table per class code, and you just have to change this subclass and discriminator kind of thing, and it will work very fine. So here we see that only one table is created. Before of that 5 table is created, but here only one table is created. So quickly we see that how we will convert this one with the annotation part. So I just close it. So already have this project here. So now annotation means that mapping file is not available. Yeah, so annotation means mapping thing is not available here. We have to deal with directly entity classes. So we'll see that Hibernate cfg.xml. So here the same thing, we have to map all the classes with mapping class, particular class name. So we are going to utilize a 5 class. So we have to add all the 5 class one by one. So mapping class, before of that class here we are using, if core is there, then we will use a resource, but now we are using annotation, that's why we are using a class. So class equal to com.visualpath.hibernate.student. com.visualpath.hibernate is a package name, that is a com.visualpath, and a student is a particular class name. So the same thing we have to provide here, com.visualpath.hibernate current student, old student, regular student, and weekend student. So we are going to deal with the 5 classes. So all the classes information will be stored in the core. We have to provide a resource, but now we are going to deal with the annotation. That reason we provide a class, and we have 5 class, 5 entity class. So we have to register all the 5 class here. Other than that, it is exactly same. Like it start with a Hibernate configuration, session factory, and session factory with the driver classes, URL, username, and password. So we have the visual path. We utilize a visual path 4. Visual path 4. So that all the student table is already there. Okay, we will create some new table. So student 4 will utilize the same database, only table we will change that. After that, username is there. Through that, when you will means install your MySQL, that time you have to provide password. That time only you have to provide. Dilate will be point out that what the query will be going to utilize. So MySQL will going to utilize. So SQL means when we are running, we see that some query generated in SQL, that will be a false, then it will be not generated there. HBM2DDL auto dot create means we are not going to create a table, that is Hibernate automatically create, and we going to map this table. So a student is a super class of all that inheritance type. A student class, we'll see that how we'll add that discriminator and all kind of thing here, and how we'll point out that we are going to utilize a table per class mapping. Before of that we use joined. Now we check that how we'll utilize here. So start with the student. This is a top class. So here the entity is there, table is there, table name is equal to a student 1, because we already have a student here. So we'll create a student 2, and this thing will be you already utilize inheritance strategy, inheritance type dot join. When we are using a table per class, we are used inheritance type dot join. Check that here. So same thing, inheritance strategy, in join what we utilize inheritance strategy, inheritance type dot join, but now we are using a single table. So only one change is here. Through that, Hibernate understand that these are going to utilize a table per class mapping. When the single table will come, it is inheritance type, means table per class mapping. When single table is come, means it is a table per class mapping. Well, joined is come, means table per subclass mapping is there. When joined will come, that will be create exactly same table how much classes is there. Means we are going to deal with the 5 entity classes, means 5 table will be created. When we use a single table, means only one table will be created for all the 5 classes, and all information will be stored there. And this is a concept of table per class mapping. So we'll add inheritance, the same thing we already explained many times. Other than that, we have to utilize a discriminator column. So discriminator column, we already see that this discriminator column we have to add, because if this single table will store all the information and discriminator type is not there, then we cannot find that this, for example, this Amit is belong to which entity class, or for example this Mohit, either he belong to regular student or he is old student. We don't find out that. So because of that, we have to create a discriminator. So we have to provide a discriminator name, column name, and after that discriminator length. 2 things is added here. Discriminator name is just a stud type. So anything like a student type be utilized. So we just go with the same thing. Student type, and length equal to 4 means here we going to store the 4 length information like STU, CSTU. So maximum 4 length will be stored here. And other thing is exactly same. ID, generated value, strategy is equal to generated auto, that will be related to primary key generation, and all the column information is here. Now we just see that only 2 things is change here. Inheritance, discriminator value. We see that discriminator value only added to other classes. So immediate student have immediate subclasses, that name is student, old student, and current student. So current student have primary key join column. Now it not have inheritance type and all, because we're going to create only one table. We just want to store the information discriminator related. So what the primary key want to, just 1 minute. So we'll save this student information, and yeah, so we just have discriminator value. So because this is one, so other different table we just have to add the discriminator value only. So discriminator value for this old student we want to save as a OSTU, and like that only this annotation we have to store into the different classes. Like regular we just have a discriminator, but we don't have @ table here. This one thing is there. Before of that we are writing a add entity, after that table, and after that column ID and all kind of thing. But think here, with table is not there, entity is there directly, discriminator value is there, and as it is same. So only two changes is here. In top class the entity table exactly same. After that we have to add inheritance. We see that thing in table per subclass also. A strategy here, inheritance type is exactly same, but here strategy type dot joined we are using a table per subclass. Here we will use a student type dot single table. After that discriminator column is there. Through that we can find out which entity class information is stored in the particular column. So here discriminator column is equal to this student type, that column name and length we are going to store up to 4. So each and every class have some discriminator value. So student class have discriminator value STU. So we are going to add this thing in all the classes. So regular student also will add discriminator value, but here table table is not there. That is only change is there. Other than lab 4, this main classes is exactly same. We just created a session factory. After created session, we start the transaction, we create a student, we create a current student, we create a weekend student, we create a old student, regular student, and all. We just save that session.save. Until we cannot commit, the data will be not travel and not stored in the database. What happened when we save that? It will be pushed inside the session cache. When we'll do the commit, only that time that will be a travel to a database and a store inside the database. In between of that something will happen, then it will be come here in the exception part, and we'll see that if transaction is not null, then we just roll back it. Same thing is here. So but name is table name we are going to create a student 1. Before of that we have a student. We are using a visual path 4 only. We are using visual path 4. So we'll run and check that how it will store or not. Yeah, done. So it is created some query. Yeah, it is store regular student, weekend student, all information in student 1 itself. So we'll see that here. So tables. Now we have two tables, student 1, that is a before that correlated mapping, and now it is a annotation related mapping. So select star from student 1. Yeah, same thing is created here, but size is very huge. Just minimize that size. I think now we are able to see. Just increase that layout. Just run one more time. Yeah, so student type is equal to their STU, that is discriminator value, SID, C name, and just that null value related to, that is not that information is not stored. The same thing is there, what table here and what this table is there, or exactly same table is there. So nothing changed. If you know the core concept, then we immediately convert into the annotation. So we completely understand that concept of simple mapping, collection mapping, inheritance mapping with table per subclass mapping related to core, related to annotation, and we also know that now table per class mapping where only one table is created. Table per class subclass means that much class is there, entity class, that much table is created. So we know that both concept with core and Hibernate. Next video will learn how table per concurrent class mapping behave is there, and how much table is created, and how we store that same information inside that database through using a table per concurrent class mapping information. So now we can understand the basic concept of Hibernate, simple mapping, collection mapping, inheritance mapping with table per class mapping with core annotation, and table per class mapping with core and annotation. So just try to understand this concept, just try to create your project once again, and if you will get any jar related problem or any creating problem, just contact Visual Path. They will provide all exactly jar, because when you are going to run some program, if your jar exactly not same, like sometime you are using a 3.2, few jar you will use 3.5, then version mismatch is there and it will create a problem. So try to either will download the same version of Hibernate, either you use a Maven, either contact to Visual Path and ask them to jar file. So I already provided the same jar file that I am using in my Eclipse, and yeah. So thanks for watching video, and just try to run this all the project, and it is very easy. In next video I will explain about table per concurrent class mapping, and after that association mapping related to one-to-one mapping, one-to-many mapping, and many-to-many mapping. Thanks for watching.